Hey guys, welcome in or welcome back. I have a fun fact for you today. Did you know that if you were to buy every single expansion pack, game pack, stuff pack, and kit that The Sims 4 currently has, it would cost you approximately $1,473.06. Insane, right? What's even more insane is that I have almost every single pack The Sims 4 has to offer. I do know, however, that majority of people are not that insane like me and probably only have a couple of packs. So today I wanted to try and make my builds more accessible by only building with 3 random packs. Now I'm going to be using James Turner's random packs generator for this video. I'll have it linked in the description if you want to try it out, but we're going to go ahead and randomize 3 random packs. Okay, I'm on the website and let's generate. We get Dine Out, Love Struck, and Home Chef Hustle. Honestly, this is probably best case scenario for the randomized packs I could get. And immediately I'm thinking that we should probably build a restaurant in the Love Struck world, seeing as we have Dine Out. And I haven't built a restaurant in a really long time, so hopefully I'll be able to pull it off. Now really quick, before we start building this restaurant, make sure to like and subscribe as that lets me and YouTube know you want to see more of these kinds of videos. But with all that being said, let's try and build this restaurant. Now we're going to be building on the Castilla del Amor lot. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm not. And something you will immediately notice is that I'm not going to be clearing the terrain paint. And that is for a specific reason that you have to watch until the end of the video to find out. Yes, I'm being like one of those annoying YouTubers, I'm sorry. Now this build was definitely a challenge for me. Reason being is because I tend to build with reference photos. Not really copying them to a T, but more so just for inspiration, especially if it's a build style that I have never really done before. Now this is the first time I've ever built in the Love Struck world, even though I've owned this pack since it first came out. And when I was doing my annual Pinterest Google search of trying to find South American and Latin American restaurants, I couldn't find anything. So that kind of left me in quite a predicament where I actually had to come up with a build from the top of my head. I do think that this build does turn out really good. You're just gonna have to trust the process a little bit because right now it's looking a little bit scary. Now the entire shape of this build is pretty simple. We just have like 2 big rectangles that are basically like a T, which doesn't sound that interesting for a build, but the real interesting part comes in with the platforms. Now I was a little bit intimidated with the platforms because if you don't know, platforms are notoriously buggy in The Sims, and I didn't want to risk breaking my whole game by using them. But my idea for these platforms was to have it as like a little elevated greenery space. Like, yeah, I could just put all the greenery on the floor and stuff, but this build isn't very dynamic because, like I said, it's just 2 big rectangles. There's not really much going on, so you have to kind of add shape in different ways. Now, for my long-term viewers out there, you might be surprised to hear that I finally have Tool Mod back installed. And if you don't know the lore, basically my entire PC died and I lost everything. I'm now playing off my Mac, and for the longest time I just never installed Tool Mod, just out of pure laziness, honestly. But I finally installed it, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I missed it. I don't know why it took me so long to reinstall it. Anywho, you can see the first use of me using Tool Mod here. I don't use it like a crazy amount, but I used it like very liberally, we'll say that. And also, by the way, you can download this build without having Tool Mod. You don't need Tool Mod to download this build, thankfully. It's just something I use to help me fine-tune my builds more, we'll just say. But anyways, for the little banner thing above the sliding door, I used Tool Mod to lower it down a bit because The Sims is very annoying because it places the overhang very high up on the second story. And if I wanted to place it like how I wanted to, it would go on the first story and you would still be able to see it with the walls like fully down or half cut. So I placed the overhead as high up as I wanted to, and then I just lowered it down with tool mod so it's at the height that I want it to be, but you're not going to see it when the walls are half cut on the first story. But now you can see that the build is finally starting to come together. We get our big arch windows in the front that I thought was like such a cool feature. I'm not gonna lie, the colors of the blocks are like a little bit off, but I just need you to ignore that, because if I sat through with just the few amounts of packs I had trying to get the windows to match, I probably would not be making this video. So let's just agree to ignore it. Now, I was going back and forth if I wanted to make this build very like gross and dirty and grimy, or like a nice looking restaurant, because normally I like to build gross, nasty, dirty things. And I ended up settling for like a nice in between, I would say. It's definitely not the nicest restaurant ever, but it's not like a complete dirty, trashy poop hole, you know? Obviously, some of the exterior paint probably needs a little bit of touching up, and maybe the back isn't the nicest, and neither is the kitchen, but for the most part, it's good enough. I feel comfortable saying that your Sims probably will not get food poisoning at this restaurant, which is a good thing. Now, a theme that you're going to see throughout this build is my use of plants. Obviously, we have the big plant platforms in the front. I'm going to end up putting some like pots of plants in front of the door as well. We're going to have some plants in the interior, not as many as I would like to, but I didn't want to cause any routing issues for your Sim, so we had to limit it on the inside. Now, I should also mention, I'm going to be jumping back and forth throughout this build a lot from the inside to the outside. Reason being is that's just how I build. I can't stay in one spot for too long, because if I do, I end up getting bored of the build and I just don't want to continue. So whenever I get bored of something, I just hop to a different spot and start doing that. And it's kind of funny to see, like looking back through the speed build, like what I was really interested in and what I just did not care about, because I feel like it's very apparent in this build. Now, I also put a mailbox in this build. It has no function, but I thought it would be cute. We have our menu board outside in case your Sims want to take a look at the menu before walking inside. And then, like I said, we have a lot of the plants and stuff. And then we have some tile leading up into the restaurant. I tried to match the world like tiling. Obviously, we don't have the exact one because the Sim sucks and they don't give us the exact thing of anything. But I tried to at least like color match and make it seem like, you know, it's not too out of place in the world. But finally, we are moving on to the inside of this build. And I'm going to be placing quite a bit of filler furniture. So do not be alarmed when you see like red chairs popping up pretty soon. At this point, I don't really have the floor plan like exactly where I want it to be. The stairs aren't gonna stay. I thought about placing them there at first, but I was thinking about it and I didn't want all your Sims to be like stuck in that one area, because I'm just thinking about Sims coming in trying to get tables, and with dine out, Sims kind of tend to crowd around the host stand, and then there's gonna be Sims coming up and down the stairs, and I just feel like that is a routing issue waiting to happen that I would rather not have. So we're gonna end up moving the stairs onto like the right side of the build, and then we're gonna have the host stand place be right in front of the kitchen. Now, I will say I kind of fumbled with this part, and that's because I have like an archway leading into the kitchen instead of a door. So I am telling you right now, I play tested this. I would recommend changing the archway that I put in to a normal door, because if you don't, you're gonna have a lot of customers and a lot of random people walking in and out the kitchen, and it's not a good time. I only added the archway because I like the vibes of it and I thought it was cute. And I'm all about the vibes here, okay? But now you can see that I'm trying to figure out the layout of the actual kitchen itself. I put in 2 of the waiter stands. I end up blocking one of them off though, just because I didn't want to cause any issues like with gameplay, because the game only recommends 1 waiter stand for a restaurant. So again, I didn't want to mess anything up. The game also only recommends 1 chef's station for a restaurant, but from my personal experience, it's better to have at least 2 of them, just because you're going to get your food out a lot quicker than if you only had one chef station. And as far as I know, it doesn't cause any like routing issues or bugs or anything like that. So don't worry about that too much. But now you can start to see what I mean when I say there's going to be a lot of red chairs. I only added those in just so I could get a feel for how I wanted the whole restaurant to be laid out. And we have a variety of different seating. We have 4 seats, we have 2 seats, we even have the booths, which I believe can fit up to like 5 Sims. I could be wrong though, but we have that on the first and the second story. And then we also have a bar area. Now, I play with Dine Out Reloaded, which is a mod. It basically just makes Dine Out a lot more enriched, I guess you could say. Like, there's a lot more to it. But one of the features of Dine Out Reloaded is that you can have, like, a mixologist on your lot. And you don't have to, like, hire one in. They can just, like, automatically come. So I did include a bar just in case you are playing with Dine Out Reloaded, like I do. If you don't have Dine Out Reloaded, I am not entirely sure if a mixologist will come to the lot. I think you might need to hire one, unfortunately. But if you don't want to do all that, you can just remove it and just add in more seating. Now, I had to cut this out of the video, but for the longest time, I was struggling with not only the lighting situation, but also what the color scheme was going to be for this entire build. And I'll start off with the lighting situation. Now, I think we all know by now that the lighting, like actual fixtures themselves, are very bulky. And at least for me, I don't really like having a lot of lights in my builds and like being all in your face and stuff. You know, I tend to use like the very small saucer lights just because it starts to get annoying when you have, again, so many lights in your face. This build though, I did go back and forth about having the saucers lights or just like actual nice cool looking lights. I did do the cool nice looking lights, but looking back at this build, I don't know if it was the right choice or not. I just feel like it would be very annoying to play with and all the like big lights in your face and whatnot, but let me know in the comments if you really care about that. It could just be like a me issue entirely. Second thing that I had to cut out from this build was the color scheme situation. I kid you not, there was 5 minutes of sped up footage of me going back and forth about what the colors for the booths and the tables were going to be. That is ridiculous. I ended up settling for like a yellow color scheme for the tables and the booth, and then the walls are going to be teal and yellow. I think that's a pretty cute color scheme. It's kind of giving like a little bit beachy in a way, which wasn't my intention, but it does look pretty cute. Now, if you have a very keen eye, you might notice something wrong with this build. And if you haven't, I'm going to spoil it. So think about it for a second. And if you guess that there is no door to the bathroom, you would be correct. At this point in this build, I'm about, I would say like a little over halfway done with it, and I completely forgot that I had a bathroom in this build. Now, I cut this out of the build because no one really wants to watch someone furnish a bathroom, at least from my experience. But I put a bathroom door right next to the booth on the first story. So your Sims do have a way to pee in case they need to for whatever reason. I'm not gonna lie though, that would probably suck in real life sitting right next to a bathroom while you're trying to eat your food. I don't want to imagine that, and I'm not going to imagine that, and I'm sorry for putting that image in your head. Ugh. Now, I took a little bit of inspiration from like South American Latin restaurants I've been to, and no, I have not been out of the country. I'm talking more so about a very Americanized version of them. As you can tell from my voice, I am American, unfortunately. But from the South American and Latin restaurants I've been to, they have a lot of like banners and just colorful stuff on the walls. So I wanted to include that in this build, obviously. So we have some of the Day of the Dead banners. I don't know the actual name for them, so I'm just gonna call them Day of the Dead banners. We also have like a little sun thing that I see in basically every like Mexican restaurant I go to, so I had to include that, obviously. And just like a lot of the paintings and stuff from the Love Struck pack. I never really use them just because they don't fit the vibes of my build, because I build very monochromatic beige homes. So it was very fun to be able to use this. Now we're jumping back into the kitchen really quick, and I'm furnishing the little, I guess, prep area. I guess this is where you plate your food and stuff. All I can think about though is how working in this kitchen would probably be a nightmare just because you probably got the waiters coming in trying to grab the food because that's probably the only place that you can place the food, and then the chefs are trying to get the plates from the top of the cabinets, and it's just, oh my god, it seems like a nightmare. I don't even want to imagine that. But I try to clutter up those counters just so your Sims won't place like plates or anything on that. From my playtesting, they won't. But again, it's The Sims. Something might work for me and might not work for you. So I did my best. Now for the rest of this build, it's going to be spent focused on the outside. And the first thing we're doing on the outside is finally the landscaping. Now, I didn't include all of it just because it kind of got a little bit redundant, but this is what I meant when I said like the little garden platform space. I think it turned out so cute and it's so fun, and I'm in love with how this turned out. I just used a bunch of the deed bug plants and stuff. Tool mod obviously is such a great help with this just because I'm able to use like the eyedropper and like copy it back and forth. Without tool mod you can't, and it's not organized in the actual landscaping category. So if you like to landscape and you are on a PC or Mac, I recommend getting tool mod. Anyways, this landscaping is something I normally would never do. I used a lot of the same plants like over and over and over. I tried to like switch it up a little bit though, but it got to the point where you only have so many plants that can match the vibe of the world, and so you kind of just have to keep using them over and over and over. Now, if you have made it this far into the video, you can finally see why I needed the terrain paint. And that's because I'm copying whoever made the slot in their terrain paint, but with actual tiling. Now, the reason I did not do this with terrain paint is because terrain paint does not show up on managed worlds for some reason. So if you were playing in the slot and I did not do all that flooring and it was just terrain paint, you wouldn't see any of this. Like, it would just be non-existent in managed worlds eyes. And I want this build to look cute for managed worlds too. So I kind of mimicked the terrain paint a little bit, and this whole back area is gonna be pretty much like just a sitting area. Basically, we have a big fountain with a tree in the middle, and then I'm gonna have 2 benches on either side of the fountain, and all I can think about is just how nice of a reading spot this would be, like especially on like a cool day underneath the shade. Oh my god, it just sounds so relaxing. You'll see in a second the water isn't that relaxing. The water is actually a little bit yucky, but if you ignore that, it's pretty cute. Now we're just adding a little bit more landscaping in the back because I realized that it was a little bit too much pavement for my liking, so I wanted to kind of break it up a little bit, and I just added like a little bit of plants. I wanted to like go full blown all out like I did in the front of the build, but I realized it was just too much, and less is more in this case, which is something I've had to learn with a lot of my builds recently. I talked about it more in depth in my last video, but just knowing when enough is enough in a build, you know, and not over cluttering it, especially because it makes it more accessible to you guys who might not have higher end computers, and not making your game stutter with like tens of hundreds of objects, you know? But anyway, we're starting to get towards the end of this build. I was going back and forth if I wanted to have the whole entire pavement like I did in the back of the build and the front of the build. I'm going to put some benches in front of the restaurant, and then we're going to have like a couple of trees lining the side of the restaurant. And I will say the benches are functional. If you are going to dine at this restaurant, you can just click on the bench and hit request table and it'll work perfectly fine, which I think is pretty cool. But I decided to enclose off one of the little plant spaces. I still don't know what to call it. Let me know what you would call this, like the little plant platform areas. But I did some half walls around it, and I just added like a big mural on the side of it, which I thought looked so cute. And I was going back and forth about adding a picnic blanket or not. I did not though, just because I thought it looked a little bit weird. So there is no woohoo spot in this build, unfortunately, but if you have like get together or something, you can just like pop in a woohoo bush and your Sims can get it on, if you know what I'm saying. Ugh, I hated that. But anyways, let's go hop in the game so I can show you how to get the slot and where you're gonna place it in your game. Don't you love when you just load into your game and you just have a big summer sale pop up and also a marketplace pop-up, because why not? It's so fun, right guys? Now to place this build, we're going to be in the Love Struck world that I'm not going to try and pronounce, because if I do, I'm going to get flamed in the comments for it. And then we're going to be placing it on this slot right here on the left hand side of the world. Here is what the finished build looks like though in game. And I just realized that my column is missing and my other column is missing. Oh, how fun. Okay, well, there's supposed to be 2 columns right there, but I guess The Sims just hates me for some reason. It's fine. It's fine. Anyways, here is the entirety of the build though. I don't know why I put 2 of these here. Just ignore that. This is like the little fountain sitting area I was talking about. It is pretty gross, but it's fine. It's okay. I did put 2 trash cans in this build. I've noticed that Sims like to knock down trash cans a lot more than usual recently. When I play tested this, they only really knocked down 1, so the other one will work just fine and you won't have to like keep picking it up over and over again. And then here is the side of the build. But now let's start looking at the inside. Now, if you come in right here, you're greeted into the little entrance host area. This is the host stand. The hostess will greet your Sims and sit them down wherever. This counter means nothing. It's just purely for decoration. So the Sims will stand right here and not there. And then I also included a bench just in case the restaurant is busy and your Sims want to sit down. Through this archway, which again, I recommend changing into a door just for gameplay purposes, you come into the little kitchen area. We have 2 of the host stands, which I blocked off one of them with a chair. Did I say host stand? I meant waiter stations, but I blocked one of them off because the game only recommends 1 of them, but I wanted to have 2 because it looks cute. The kitchen isn't like the greatest kitchen ever. Obviously, like, the paint is not the best, but we have 2 of the chef stations, trash cans, and again, I put stuff on these counters, so hopefully your Sims won't place anything on them. From my place testing, they didn't, but again, it's The Sims, anything could happen. Now, if we actually want to be seated inside the restaurant, we have a variety of different options. We have this entire downstairs area right here. We have like some big seating and then small seating right here. And then if we go upstairs, we have even more seating with a little open access way, which I think looks so cool. We got more seating in the corner, another booth seating here, and then the bar area, which will work if you have Dine Out Reloaded. If you don't have Dine Out Reloaded, it probably won't work, and it's more so just for decoration. And then like I was mentioning in the speed build, the bathroom is going to be on the side right next to this booth right here, which is kind of nasty, but it's The Sims, it doesn't matter, and it's just a bathroom. There's nothing crazy about it. The window is open though, so I guess some of the smells will escape from there. Oh god, why did I say that? And that is pretty much it for this build. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making this build. And again, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. You should especially do it because this is the second time I'm recording this video because someone forgot to turn on her microphone. Anyways, I hope you have an awesome day, night, morning, evening, wherever you are. And I will catch you in my next video. Peace out.